Okay. All right, there we go. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. How you all doing today? I think you can see me all right, hear me okay. Put it into the chat, let me know. Yep, it seems to be working. Okay, cool. Yeah, all right. Hey Jimmy, how you doing? Thanks for that. Hey Nev, good morning. Hey Jumarinas, how you doing? Give it a couple of moments before we get started. Market has moved, especially overnight, but today it has been relatively quiet, consolidative. Probably going to continue on for today, and then we might see the volatility, the liquidity come back into play tomorrow, especially with the Bank of England, the BOE, with their rates decision. So if you have any interesting trades, or if you've entered any interesting trades as well, just put it into the chat, let me know. We can do a quick review of those as well. Hey Christina, good morning, how are you doing? Alrighty, fantastic. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Again, if you are new to the session, do remember to drop a message, say hi, let me know where you're joining us from. And for all the regulars, a big welcome back. Thank you again for joining me on this daily market analysis. It is the 8th of May. It is the 8th of May. Like I was just saying at the start, markets have been for today a little bit, for most of my day, you guys probably just started the day. Some of you have just started the day. Some might be finishing the day. Looking at you there, Jimmy. What was I going to say? Yeah, it's been a little bit quiet and consolidative, but we might see the liquidity and volatility come back into play. Maybe later today, into tonight, or most likely tomorrow. If you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to put into the chat and let me know. And you can help me out massively by remembering to click on that like and subscribe button, and that would help massively get more people onto the live stream and also onto the Discord channel. I think most of you have already joined us on Discord, but if you're new to the session and haven't joined us, the link is up there for you guys to join us on Discord. All right, ask a question, get some help with your trading, share a trade idea or two, get some feedback on that. We're all there to help. We've got people from all around the world, so someone's going to be reading your comments and your setups and giving you their points of view as well. Okay. Hey Lily, how you doing? Hey Diana. Hey Lydia, good to see you. With all that said, a quick disclaimer: any information contained on this webinar should not be construed as advice and is presented as education material only. The contents of this webinar are not intended to be a recommendation to trade a financial product, so please remember that your objectives, financial situation and needs has not been considered, and you should consider its appropriateness to your circumstances. Now with that, take that away. Like I was saying, markets have been relatively quiet. Not a lot of things happening even from last night. Right, yesterday we were right at that point when we were doing our session. At 4:30 we did have the UK PMI, construction PMI being released. A bit of a surprise there. From a 50.2 expected 50.4. I thought it was going to stay around that level, but it came out at a 53. right? So an increasing rate of expansion for the construction purchasing managers indexes, PMI. Should be good news for the pound, should be good news for the pound, but the construction PMI is not a huge news. It's not a huge news. And we did see the pound sit there for a little bit before turning lower. And then following up from that, we had some euro sales, retail sales number. Didn't bother too much, but we did see a bit, well, it was minus 0.5. So got revised to minus 0.3, got released at 0.8. So it was a relatively big swing there on retail sales. But again, Eurozone retail sales numbers, I'm not too focused on that. And then not much else, not much other news being released. All through to today, again, not much news. Not much news to follow on either. All right, the French are on a bank holiday for Victory Day, and it's going to be it's going to be a little bit quiet all through to tomorrow night. Tomorrow evening is where we expect. Maybe tomorrow morning might have a little bit of volatility on the yen pairs. Tomorrow morning at about 7 a.m. we might see some volatility on the yen pairs. Not going to be huge, I don't think. Then all the way through to 7 p.m. GMT plus 8 tomorrow, where we're likely to see increased volatility and liquidity on especially on the pound pairs, as we have the BOE with their monetary policy decision. Okay, but I'll tell you more about that during tomorrow's session. Now, with that, it should be with no major news. It should be relatively, I don't want to say simple, but more straightforward. We're looking at more trending, likely to be trending conditions. Maybe a bit of consolidation before a trending continuation. All right, I was just a little bit distracted because I just saw that on the pound dollar. I'll tell you about a trade that I got into. So this was the pound dollar trade that I did. Again, you saw that the pound dollar rose up. This was at the news release. This was, bring back that PMI, the construction PMI at 430. We did see the pound push up slightly, right? 430, zoom in a bit. 430 was right there, so it pushed up a little bit, looked like it was sitting there at that support. It bounced back up a little bit back and then coming back down again, breaking that trend line and that support level. So this was a trade I got into last night, right, as it broke that level. Held it overnight, just let it run. I didn't see all of that, but this morning, well, this afternoon when I saw it sitting in that consolidation and starting to push back up, I actually closed out my trade there at, how do I move this away? How do I move this? Okay, at 40 pips, all right, I'll zoom in there. So as it pushed down and then it sat in that consolidation, as it was pushing back up, I closed out at 2 p.m., around that 2 p.m. timing at 40 pips. And then that's why I was a little bit distracted, because it's starting to push back down. Our take profit level on this from yesterday was at 60 pips. So if you are still holding, so I closed out on 40 for the pound dollar today. If you are still holding on the pound dollar, we might actually see this come down to that 60 pip take profit level at 1.2466, no, 1.2468. That's a 60 pip level. Okay, anyone got onto the pound dollar trade? Let me know. So we're seeing that continue. Apart from that, I didn't get into any other trades. Just taking a little bit slower after what we've gone through on the yen. Had a lot of big trades on the yen, so taking the opportunity to kind of relax a little bit more, to go less crazy on the trades. Okay, then with that, so if you did get into any trades, let me know. Now, hey Stefan, how are you doing? Good morning. On to the dollar index. So no major news to be released, but yet we didn't see the dollar break that 105 level. So it kind of bounced around at this level and then now breaking higher above this resistance level of 105.50. Right, so remember yesterday I was saying it needs to stay below 105.50. So now, given that it's broken 105.50, I want this as a more relevant level. And that's broken. That we can take away together with that 38.2. Alright, so now given that it's broken above 105.50, I am going to switch slide of bias maybe more to the upside for the dollar index in the short term. Okay, 61.8 is there. So what I'm looking at here is, in addition to that, okay, there we go. Right, I'm seeing, I'm just going to try something. No, doesn't work. Okay. So I'm seeing the dollar push up, even if we took those points there. Right, pushing up off this bottom, bounced off this level, that 105 level to push higher. Right now, trading just along that 50% retracement level, right there. And that resistance level now at 105.50. What I'm thinking here is that we might see it push up further towards that 61.8 level, right? It could go a lot higher. Might even round this up to 105.80. It could go a lot higher, but I think that with today being a little bit, could be a little bit quiet. We might see it sit there or push up slightly. I'm not expecting a big push on the dollar index. All right, but as usual, if I say I don't expect a big push, we could see it move quite a bit. So now thinking about this, I'm looking at the 8th of May, dollar index at 105.50. All right, it could at 105.50 could push up higher to 105.80, which is that 61.8 retracement level, and beyond that we would have another point at about 106.10. Right, at about 106.10. I don't see it getting there today. Can't rule it out, but I don't see it getting there today. And also because this week is a little bit quiet on the US news. Okay, mortgage delinquencies. Okay, so looking at this, pushing up towards 105.80. If it breaks that point, then we could see it trade up to 106.10. Push up to this, then beyond that, 106.10. Right, so looking at dollar strength to continue higher. Could it retrace from here? I don't see it. I don't see it coming back down yet. I think that at 105.50 could consolidate briefly and push up higher to 105.80 like that. So I think that it's going to sit there for a while. It's already sat there for a while. might sit there for a little bit longer or push up towards that 61.8 or that previous level at 105.80. It's not that far away. It's 105.55 now, so it's not that far away. If it does come up to that point, we might even see it continue push up. Okay, bearing in mind that just yesterday we were at this point here, right? We were at this, was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday we were at this point here at 105.20. Right, so it's gone up about that 30, it's gone down slightly and then gone up to that 30 pip level. Might sit there and then push up about 30 pips, which would be about 105.80 thereabouts. Okay, so now switching the bias to some dollar strength scenarios, then looking at the Kiwi, it's held, that level held, so we saw this come up, test the trend line, and push down. That's why we had our entry above that trend line. Didn't get triggered, take that away. Now it's a bit odd, right? If you notice this, it's a bit odd that the dollar seems to be gaining a little bit of strength, but yet we're seeing the Kiwi dollar push up slightly, right? Now pushing up slightly. This would be a good point to note. I don't think this is great. I don't think this support level here is great. I think this is a good point to note because of that 38.2 and that previous swing level. I don't like this one that much. I like it down here a bit more in this area. Because of that swing level, so I like it down to 5934 or 5930 even, right? The next support because of the swing level here, right? This area down here, and then also that bit of consolidation and that testing level together with that 61.8. So I would like to consider that whole thing as my support level. Okay, so what I would be in this case looking for would be either for the Kiwi dollar to test and then trade lower, or to sit there and then push to the downside. Okay, so what that looks like, man, what am I doing? I'm clicking too many buttons, hang on. I'm looking at that. With the way it's moving, I think that we might actually see it bounce up before coming back down. Again, slightly more aggressive entry would be to sell at below 0.6. Stop loss about no more than 20 pips, very generous at 20. Take profit, you could go down to 60 pips. That way. Okay, so you could look for it to test, reject, and then sell it down. Or if you wanted to be a little bit more conservative, then you want to see it test, reject, look for it to break below 5980. So 5975. Stop loss can go 15. Take profit 35. All right, take profit 35 to the downside like that. So that's something that you can look at as well. Between these two, I think that if you do have some risk capital, if you're able to take a bit of a risk capital on this, we could look for that move. I think generally for most people, look for it to break that 38.2 level and then push lower. Okay, so 5975, stop loss 15, take profit 35 to the downside for the Kiwi dollar. So Kiwi, we're looking to sell at 0.5975, stop loss 15, take profit 35 to the downside. You could do that. I'll probably look to try to do this. I think this will be the safer option. Okay, and then on to the Aussie dollar. Same thing that we're talking about from yesterday. Thought that was going to bounce up before coming back down. It bounced a lot more than we expected, right? So it pushed up from that 6590 level, pushed up more towards 6620, came back down. Now if I move this right across, we still want to see this break that 38.2, so it's consolidating right there. Now I would say that you're looking at this point together with about 6570. I'll revise this and say that 6565, stop loss 20 pips, take profit 40 to the downside. Right, that trend line is done. We can take that away. Good morning, Lingopedia. How are you doing? So this is consolidating, looking for it to break to the downside. I might push up a little bit. I don't think that much before coming back down. So I'll keep that there. 6565, 20 to 40 to the downside for the Aussie dollar. Stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the downside. Not huge moves. We're not expecting huge moves on the Aussie and on the Kiwi at this point. Right? Also because you can see that Wednesday last week it was pushing up higher. So now it is a bit of a cautious move lower, right? It does look like it's a retracement. That retracement, whether that retracement is going to develop into a correction back down, that's what we're looking out for, and that's why we're being a bit more cautious in terms of looking for that reversal, that big reversal. It is going against that short-term or medium-term, short-term trend. Okay. Then onto the yen, I'll tell you that I didn't get into, this trade didn't trigger, but I was sitting there after our session. This was right after our session. Take that away for now. Right? We said it was going to go up and then turn back down, break that support, and I'll look to sell down. It came close of our session, I'm trying to not trigger that up, okay. Close of our session, we had that one candle, two candles down, and then you can see that there was a little bit of a tail pushing lower. I was thinking at that point, I was like, great. I was clapping my hands, I was ready. I was going, if this pushes lower and closes below that 153.80 level, I want to sell the yen down. Right? I sat there and I waited and I waited, and then the hour closed and then it pushed up. Hour closed with a rejection of that support level and pushed up, and then I just went, not going to happen, bounced off the support. It's likely to go higher. I'm not looking for this sell to the downside. Right? So take that away. That did not trigger, unfortunately. Now we are looking at the yen pushing back up. Right? The yen is pushing back up. Or the US yen is pushing back up. There was a headliner here. Kuroda, no, not Kuroda. Where does it this? Doesn't see yen moves as having a big impact on trend inflation so far. Don't see yen moves as having a big impact, but there's a risk impact that could become more significant in the future. Don't see yen moves as a big impact. BOJ won't necessarily wait until inflation achieves our forecast to raise interest rates. Trend inflation moves as we project, will adjust degree of monetary support accordingly. We all know that. So no big surprise there, but given that he said, hey, however the yen moves, it's not impacting on our trend, on inflation. I guess that's one of the drivers why we see the yen continuing to push back up. It might seem to the market like we've given up on intervention, right? We're not going to kind of push it back down, and that's why we see it push back up. And in fact, if you remember from Monday, we were talking about that shoulder, head, and shoulder with that 50% being that neckline. So this was the neckline with this whole area there. So it came to that 50%. That would actually be playing out quite nicely. As an inverted head and shoulder, you could have, not a trade that I like, but you could have been looking at that kind of move, right? Still a good 200 pip, possible 200 pip move to the upside due to an inverted head and shoulder on the US yen. We spoke about this. I don't like counter trend trades, particularly on the US yen after those two interventions. So even if we missed on it, that's fine. Jimmy's asking, do you wait for a pullback before entering a trade? Actually, no. A lot of times I do like to enter on the close of the candle. Well, not a lot of time. I enter on the close of the candle. I don't wait for a pullback because sometimes when you wait for a pullback and it starts going back up, then you start thinking, is it going to keep going back up, right? Or is it going to keep going back down? So I don't wait for a pullback. Like in this case that we were just talking about here, if I was looking for that we were talking about here, right, that sell drop, I'm not looking for it to pull back before looking to sell down, because once it pulls back, I think that's reacted, it's going to go back up. Or even if, I'm just trying to find an example, let's say for example we wanted to sell at that point, right? It comes down, it pushes back up, then it doesn't come back down, and the poor example, but yeah, typically I don't look for a pullback before entering a trade. I like to kind of trade what I see straight away on the close of the candle, rather than trying to sit there, wait for it to pull back and then come back down a little bit before trying to enter. Not a lot of pips difference, and you can probably notice that the way I look at the setups, I'm not very particular about that couple of pips here and there. In fact, if you ask me what's the spread on my trades, or what's the spread, current spread, I don't really pay that much attention to it. Not too focused on those, on a couple of pips here and there. Okay, hope I answered your question there, Jimmy. Hey, now looking at the US yen here, 61 is broken, 50 is broken. We can take those away. Yes, I'll keep that there at 154 as a round number. Just putting in this to test something. That midpoint there hasn't turned, hasn't done anything, so we'll keep that there. Now my question, what I'm thinking here on the US yen is whether it's going to sit there and turn back down, or whether it's going to push back up. We see a level about here, about that point there, and in fact this point, this swing level here, 156. Dollar is pushing up, right? Dollar is pushing up slightly, and why I'm checking on the dollar right now suddenly, almost suddenly, is because I'm looking at this trying to push down. I'm like, wait, is dollar dropping? No, it's not. Dollar is rising, so it's a bit odd to see this trying back down again. I would say that it looks like it's just going to bounce small moves and gradually climb to the upside. I would not do anything on the yen. I would wait to see what's the reaction here at 156. All right, I'll wait to see what's the reaction at 156. If it reverses from here, I'll probably fight a rather strong temptation to try and not enter a trade. Right, I might be thinking, okay, it's broken this point. Can I look to sell it down? Or when it breaks the support, can I look to sell it down? But I feel that that big downside on the US yen seems to have been gone past already. So I would think that we might see it come down slightly or sit around this level and then slowly push up towards that 156 level. Okay, so US yen, I would not be too keen on this. I would be looking for a reaction at 156 round number resistance. There we go. Can we add US oil on my list? I'm not great on the US oil. Okay, we see it's coming back down a little bit. I'm not great on the US oil. Too many factors to consider with oil, but yes, we can have a look at it. Okay, so take that away. I'm thinking it's going to sit there and slowly push up towards 156. Yes, okay. Then on the pound, okay, I'm not so pissed yet at this point because it did push down, come back up. I'm still glad I closed out at 40. Take that away. Right now, looking at the pound dollar trend line is done. Take that away. It's come very close to this 50% level, 50% retracement level that we saw it bounce on the 25th, 26th, 1st of May, very close on the 2nd of May, and now on the 8th of May, it's approaching that level again. Okay, we can keep that, and that's my resistance. Yep, okay. So what I'm looking at here on the pound, and I'll be a bit more cautious on the pound because we do have the BOE tomorrow, is that I want to see it come down towards this point and see what happens. Right? I'm thinking that if I got it wrong on the dollar index and it doesn't push up, in fact, if it does sit there and start breaking down from this trend line, then something to consider on the pound dollar would be a situation where it comes down, bounces off, and pushes up. So that would be how it looks like in this case. 1.2475. Stop loss 20 pips is generous, and take profit, hang on, take profit could be back up to that resistance level, back up to this point, 60 pips. That's what I would look for. Right? Yes, you can look to sell it down. A lot of space down here on the pound. It could even come down midway and then bounce back up. But I'm thinking that it could bounce from here. If not, then that might be an interesting level as well at 1.2425. So within this two level, I'm looking for it to bounce. Also because with the Bank of England tomorrow, again, remember we're looking at one member shifting from a decrease to holding rates, right? From cutting to holding. Again, that goes from cutting rates is a little bit dovish, to holding in the scheme of things looks a little bit more positive. So we might see the pound dollar push slightly to the upside, and that's why I'm starting to think of a bounce scenario that it could bounce. So 1.2475, 20 to 60 to the upside for the pound dollar. So I'm looking to buy 1.2475, stop loss 20, take profit 60 to the upside. Then onto the euro dollar. All right, this was we were looking at the scenario where it could come down and bounce. Flipping that, this was yesterday. We were looking at pound dollar breaking lower if we saw dollar strength. So we did see dollar strength, we saw pound dollar break lower, and then we covered our bases with the euro possibly bouncing back up. It came down, did not as low as we wanted yet, and it's sitting right there, right? Sitting at that level right now, between 38.2 and 50. In fact, it's broken 38.2, so we can take that away. And support level here at 50. I'm thinking that if the dollar does strengthen, we'll see this push down. Not a lot of euro news, especially. Oh, policy, what is this? They cut rate cut by 25 percentage points. Risk bank. So let me think. How is that going to work on the? Shouldn't affect the euro too much. Maybe that's why we're seeing it bounce a little bit. I think that that's fine. Might see it sit there. Overall, still looking for it to push down. Yes, I'm still looking for it to break that support to sell down. I would say 1.0720. Stop loss 20 pips. Take profit 40 because of that interim level right about there. I'm looking for it to come down to this point. I don't think might not get all the way down to this level here. So I think 20 to 40 slight downside move on the euro would be reasonable. 1.07. So euro, I'm looking to sell down at 1.0720. Stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the downside. That's fair. Then the Swiss did not do that. It rejected the bounce. It did not come down as low. Push back up. You see that it bounced off this level, so it came down, bounced, and it's pushed back up. Right now, still at that 38.2 level. Continuation or consolidation at this point could see it back down. That would show some dollar weakness scenario. Right, it's consolidating at this point. It could show some dollar weakness scenarios pushing lower. Don't need that. Maybe if this reverse, I don't think it's going to reverse. But we're seeing this turn down slightly while the dollar is pushing up. I think that as much as I would like to consider, selling down 9075, stop loss 25, take profit 60 to the downside, as much as that might be a good counter trend setup, I think that we're likely, and in fact, if you look at this, This is why it's sitting there. 38.2, all those levels there, sitting right there. I think it might push down a little bit, but continue up. So overall, just looking at this pushing up to that resistance level at 9140. Maybe a better idea would be to look for a possible sell from 9140. So 9135, stop loss 20 pips, take profit immediately. You have 40 back down to this point, and then you could go even further down, but your first target could be 40 pips. All right, so US Swiss franc, oops, didn't range. It pushed up, so we're looking for it to test and reject resistance. We're looking to sell at 0.9135, 20 to 40. 9135, stop loss 20, take profit 40 to the downside, while the US CAD hasn't done that. It hasn't tested and rejected down, but it has pushed up strongly, breaking all these levels. Take that away. Right, it's pushed up strongly. Now showing a bit, so it's a bit odd, you know, we should be seeing it push up. I want to see it test and reject that resistance level or break through that resistance. Don't think it'll break through. I think it'll test and reject. So very similar to the US Swiss franc. It's pushing up. We're looking for it to test and reject. I'll be looking to sell 1.3770. Stop loss 20. Take profit could go back down to about 70 to the downside. Retrace slightly, push up, reject back down. Okay, so 1.3770, 20 pip stop loss, 70 pip take profit to the downside for the US CAD. Still looking to sell 1.3770. Stop loss 20, take profit 70 to the downside. Okay, looking at this, what's the news? Regains momentum, that's fine. That's not the news on the CAD. Looking at the CAD, we start looking at US oil. Oil is dropping. Maybe one reason why we're seeing the CAD pushing lower. Well, no, if oil is dropping, we should see the CAD push up. So now looking at this, it's at a support level. I don't have any major reasons why it's dropping. Oil resumes fall on fears of higher supply. So if that continues, supply continues to increase or remain high, then we could see oil go from, especially if it breaks that support of 77.26, we could see it head down towards 75.84. Okay, relatively straightforward there on oil. Then on to the euro yen, we looked for this, right? A test and reject. I would say that it's testing, or it's coming close to testing. Hasn't finished its test yet. So I would look for it to test at 61.8 level, reject and push back down. I'll keep that view of 6678, maybe 667570. I can't move. Okay, 50 pips to the down to that level here, to this level here. of 140, maybe even 150 to the downside. But I do want to see it test and reject first. I want to see it test and reject. Right? Especially if we're thinking that the euro dollar is going to push down. The US yen, yes, might continue up. That's why we're going to see the test and then that reject. Onto the pound yen, sitting right there, didn't break down despite what the pound dollar did, breaking lower. I think that kind of counteracted the move. So pound yen, we're looking at it sitting in that area. Maybe what could happen here on the pound yen would be for it to trade up and do that. 194.50, rejection of 194.50 could make sense. I think it's not worth trying to do to try and guess what the pound yen is going to do. Right? I don't think it's worth trying to guess because it could come up to this point, test, reject, and then continue like a bit like this. Right? Come up, test, reject, and then after that continue back up again. And if we took that and then pull it right across, it could do that to come to the next point here. Right? And so because of that, I would think that I wouldn't do anything on the pound yen. Might see some upside continuation, or even if it does drop, it's right in the middle of the area, so I'm not super keen on this. And yes, tomorrow's news for the pound as well, so I think that maybe tomorrow we're going to have a better idea of what could happen on the pound yen. Pound dollar already is expecting that push down and then maybe a bounce back up because of the news. So yeah, might push it up. I think that it would be better to look at it tomorrow, right? Because right now you're looking at the pound dollar, you know, pushing down a little bit, and then it's counteracting this move higher on the yen. So the pound yen is a little bit conflicted, just sitting there trying to go up but trying to go down and then bouncing around. So give it time, let it develop a move. Hopefully by tomorrow we get to that resistance, and then with the pound news we could have a straddle, right? Looking to either buy it up on a breakout or sell it down on a rejection. So wait for that for tomorrow. Then as we look at the Swissy sitting in consolidation, possibly pushing up, the Swiss yen, right, pushing. So if you look at this, that has been pushing slightly to the upside and consolidating together with the US yen pushing up. That's why we see this gathering consolidate as the Swiss consolidates and the yen pushes up. It's dragging the Swiss yen up. Now that did not trigger, so I would say that you look for this to continue higher that way, right? You look for this to continue higher that way, and then I wouldn't do anything because it's right in the middle. If you had to, maybe, I don't have a good level to get in at. Above 171. Stop loss will be about 60 pips. Take profit will be 120 towards that resistance. Not the not the most ideal kind of setup, but could be something to look out for on the Swiss yen. All right. And then with that said, then looking at the gold, yesterday we were talking about it ranging between 23.17 to 23.25. It kind of did that. It sat there, 23.25 bounce, 23.17 bounce around, but it broke, breaking that level. double top formation breaking 23.16 to 22.19. I think BL commented and said that it shouldn't be 22.19, it should be 22.91, which you got that right. So it's 22.91. Looking at that double top pushing lower. Right now, I would say that it needs to go past 23.08 to get to, which is very close. So 23.08 to get to 22.90. Okay, I can't get to CAD. Let me just write that down before I forget. Break 23.08 to trade down to 22.90. Okay. Then onto USCAD. Looking for it to continue up towards that resistance, and then ideally form a double top formation to reject back down. Looking to buy from fair value on H1 time frame. In this area. I don't see it coming back down that much, and I think that, yeah, I think that if it does come back in, quite likely it might just continue lower. I'll be a bit cautious on that, but yeah, if it does come back in and you see it push back up a bit, then I think as a short trade, maybe. I would still prefer to just wait it out to that resistance and then ideally look to sell it back down again. Okay, good questions there. All right, so with that said, today, most likely we're looking at some trending scenarios, not a lot of news to be had. The dollar just snapped out, so I don't think we're going to say it could consolidate, right? At 105.50 and push higher to 105.80, and beyond that 106.10. So we'll look for that. Okay, so with that, a slight adjustment on the dollar index. Now we're looking for further upside continuation. Please remember, trade well, trade safe. If you haven't already, do help me out. Click that like and subscribe button. And also, I'll see you on Discord. If you have any other questions, do reach out and let me know. Take care now. Bye-bye.